Hello and welcome to Tech Trails with Ratish. This is Learning by Doing Build series episode 4. In this episode, we will look at content model creation demo. As you might remember, in the previous episode, we went through the entire content modeling process. Today, we will try to create these models in Optimizely CMS. So these are the 6 different types of models that we will try to create today. Right from taxonomy to base types and a selection factory, and then media types for recipe image and recipe videos, and then blocks and core pages. So let's start with taxonomy. The first one is that you create the taxonomy programmatically. The second option is to use the CMS authoring interface and create the taxonomies there. And the third approach is probably a hybrid approach where you create the initial set of taxonomies in the code using the programming method, and then allow the content authors to manage the taxonomy in the future, because this is going to be an ongoing process, and we want to avoid any kind of dependency on the developer to maintain the taxonomies. So for the demo purposes, we will try to keep it simple and probably create the whole taxonomy in the content authoring interface itself. But in, let's say, production scenarios or in a real world scenario, it is probably best to follow a hybrid approach where the initial setup is done programmatically through the code, and then the content authors take over and maintain the taxonomy on the content authoring interface. Yeah, so let's start. So we'll just try to launch the CMS authoring interface. Yeah, just click login, so it's taking a while to log in. Right, so it's logging in now. Yeah, so let's go to settings. This is where you'll find the categories or the taxonomy. Yeah, so in settings, you will have to choose categories here. This is where we will create our taxonomy. So right now there are no entries in under this. So let's start creating categories. So like you might have from previous episode that we had created 3 different categories. So the first one would be cuisine, right? And the second category would be dietary, right? And the third category, the top level category, would be tax, right? So 3 top level categories are created. So let's try to create subcategories under this. So I go under cuisine and then I create different kind of cuisines. So as an example, I'll start creating Indian cuisine. We can have Italian cuisine, right? Then we can have, let's say, Thai cuisine, right? And then let's say we have Mexican cuisine for now, right? So let's have these 4 things for now. This can be extended. You can go on adding subcategories under these as well. Like for example, in Indian, if you want to have different types of cuisines, let's say North Indian and South Indian, and if you want to further subdivide it, so all that is possible here, right? So now for demo purposes, we'll restrict to this 4 different subcategories. Let's go to dietary now. So under dietary, let's say we have vegan as a category, we have vegetarian as another category, and let's say gluten free would be another category, right? And let's say my keto meal would be another category here. So again, let's restrict it to 4. We can always come and update this whenever we feel it is required. We'll move on to tags category. So under tags, let's say I have quick meals as a category, and then say festive recipes as another category, right? And let's say healthy as another category, and let's say I have budget recipes as another category, and let's say I have high protein recipe as another category, right? So let us restrict it to these many categories for now. So at a top level we have 3 different things: cuisine, dietaries, and tags. And then under each one of them we have created some subcategories. I think this should be good enough for our demo. So now let's start with base types. Yeah, so for the base types, if you remember in our previous episode we had already created a base type for pages, so we'll quickly observe that. So we have the structure here. Under models we have pages, and under pages we have base folder type, and under that we had created a site page data model type, which is our base type, which had SEO related fields here. I think this is good enough for now for pages, but we need one more base type for blocks. So let's go ahead and create that. So under models, let's create another folder called as blocks. So we will call this blocks here. So all the blocks will be created under this, and similar to pages, we will create a base folder in order to hold the base type. So let's create a subfolder under blocks, we'll call it as base. Under this, let's create a class file, right? And let's call it site block data, right? So the page was called site page data, and the block we will call it as site, let's say site block data.cs, and let's create this. Right, so the only thing that we need to do here is extend this using block data, yeah, and probably we need let's copy all the using statements from here as well, right? So we have all the using statements, and right now we don't need any fields, but we'll see, we can come back to this and we can add any fields that are required. Yeah, so for now we have 2 different base types, one for the pages, which is our start page class, which inherits from no, we have the site page data class, we have site page data class which inherits from page data, and we have field specific to SEO. This is our page base type, and we have a base type for blocks as well, which is called a site block data. Currently we don't have any fields related to this. Yeah, so with this we complete the base types. Now let's create a selection factory. So now let's start with selection factories. So for that, under models, let's go ahead and create a folder, and we'll call it as selection factory, right? And under this, let's go and add a class. So the class would be called as difficulty selection factory. So this indicates the difficulty of preparing that recipe So we'll have predefined values like easy, medium and hard, which will be used in the recipe page type, right? So let's go ahead and create this. Yeah, so this is the class that we have. So now so the first thing that we need to do is this will have to inherit from iSelection factory, which is from the EP server shell object editing namespace. So this is the first thing that we'll have to do, and then we will have to extend that. Yeah, we have to implement this interface. So let's say implement this interface here, right? So instead of throw new exception, I'm going to return the values, right? So in order to return the values, so let's say I want to return an array of values, right? So let's say new here, new array, and inside this I would have new select item, right? And open flag braces, and inside this I need to have my text and value. So my text would read, text is what is displayed to the end user, so the text would read easy, and the value which is stored internally would be like this. So yeah, something like this, right? So now let's copy this and create two more entries, right? And I would modify this and make it medium, and the same with the value as well, right? And the last one I would modify it to hard and make the value also as hard. Save this. Yeah, I think we should be good with this. Let's quickly try to build the solution. Yeah, it has started the build process. Yeah, I think it will take a couple of minutes to build the whole thing. Just wait. Yeah, it has started now. Cool. So the build is successful. There are no compilation errors at least. Yeah, so that completes our selection factory. Now we will create two media types, recipe image and recipe video. Let's start by creating a folder for media types. So under models, I'm going to add a new folder now. So click new folder and let's name it as media, right? Yeah, so I have a media folder now. So under this media, let's create the first class. So this class would represent my images. So I would call this as recipe image, right? So I'll call it as recipe image. So let me create this class now. Yeah, so now a couple of things that we'll have to do. First is recipe image has to inherit from image data, right? And for the class I'll have to put two annotations. So the first one is it's a content type, so I'll say it is content type here, and I would set all the attributes that are required. So the first one is display name. I would name it as recipe image, right? The second one is the GUID. So the GUID would be empty for now. Let's fill this later, and then we'll have description field, which is let's say recipe image again, right? And this is my first annotation, and the second one is an important one, is my media descriptor. So let's say media descriptor. Yeah, so under media descriptor I can filter out the extensions that I want to list here. So since this is an image, so I will say extensions, right? Extension string. Extension string is we'll have JPG, JPEG, PNG, and WebP. Let's say we can extend it to other extensions as well, but for now we can live with this, right? Apart from this, I would need for my image, I would need my alt text as well. So I'll create a field here. So I would create a public field, virtual string, and I call it as alt text, which will have a get set method, right? I'll have a get set method here, and a couple of annotations here as well. So I'll make this as editable field, right? Editable is set to true. Yeah, and I would have the display property as well, so I call it display, and set the name as alt text, right? Alt text, and I'll also set the order would be set to, let's say, 10, right? Yeah, I think this should be good enough. So the next one is, let's create a class for similar class for video as well, right? So I would call it recipe video, right? So let's probably copy this whole thing from here, and then let's try to modify it so that it's just quicker. So I'm copying that from here. I will call this as recipe video everywhere, and instead of image data I would have to extend from video data, right? So let's do that. Yeah, so I have video data here, and I'll have to change the extensions as well, because these are video items. So I would have let's say, I'll just modify this, and let's say we have MP4 video types, we have WebM and OGG for now, right? Again, this can be modified at a later time. And instead of alt text, let's say I want to have different fields here, so I call it recipe video title, right? And I'll have the same thing here, recipe video title, and I will copy this whole thing. I want to add another field which is called title, and then let's say I have a description, which is again a text field, right? And I will have one more field here, which is my thumbnail of the video. So So instead of description, I would name it as thumbnail, right? And the field name also would be changed to thumbnail. So instead of a string field, I will have this as content reference field. Yeah. So with this, let's quickly try to build this. And yeah, one more thing that I need to do is change the order here. So I'll make this as 20 and 30. So save this and let's quickly try to build the solution. Yeah, the build is initiating. Yeah, it will take a couple of minutes. Just bear with me. Yeah, so the build is successful. There are no compilation errors. Yeah, so that completes our media type. Yeah, one thing I noticed here that I had copy pasted this from recipe image, so this has become nested class. So let's try to quickly correct that. So I'm going to remove this from here, right? Remove the nested class and try to extend the view data class from here. Yeah, I think that should be good. Then let's try to build the solution again. Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, there are errors, so I'll have to move this annotations outside the class, and I think we should be good now. Let's quickly try to build that again. Wonderful. Yeah, so the build is successful. I think we are good now. So we have a namespace and we have a class, so we have removed that nested class which happened because of the copy paste. Yeah, now let's create blocks. So we'll be creating 3 different blocks as part of this exercise. So 2 of them will be used in the recipe page, which are one for ingredients and one for the recipe steps. And we'll create one more block which is like a filter panel which can be used on the search page. So let's start. So under blocks, I'll create a new class. So I would create let's create the ingredient block first. So I would call this as ingredient item block.cs, right? So we'll look at what all fields we need here. So the first thing, as always, inherit from the base type. So let's inherit from the base type that we created, which is site block data, right, which we created under base folder, right? So we'll try to inherit from that. Then now let's annotate this, because this is a content type. Let's say it does a content type, and then let's add the properties that are required. So 2 properties. One is display name, right, display name property, and let's call this ingredient item, right, ingredient items. And we need to have the GUID as well, right? For now we'll keep it empty string. We can come and update this later. So now I need the fields that are required for my ingredient. So let's say I need my public, right, virtual string string field, and I would call the field as the ingredient name. That's the first field I need. And let's have a get set method here, right? And then let me annotate this. So first is let's say if you are building a multilingual site, I want the ingredient name to be culture specific so that you can name the ingredients in their languages. So we can annotate this as culture specific, and we'll have a display attribute, right? So I have display attribute, and then the properties would be name again. So name would be the ingredient name, right? Ingredient name here, and then my second property would be the order, right? Yeah, so this is my property, first property, and the second property that I need would be the quantity, right? So I would call it as quantity here. Let's correct the typos, and then the display name also is changed to quantity, and the order is changed to 20, right? And let's say instead of string, for now I'll make it as int, right? And we need one more attribute, which is unit. So unit will be again, let's say, strings for time being. We can make this as a selection factory as well. We can have, let's say, tablespoons, teaspoons, all those measurements, standard measurements here. But for now we'll just, for simplicity, let's keep it an open text for now, right? So we'll have the unit as well. So these are the three different fields that I need in my ingredients. Yeah, so this would complete my ingredient item block class. So let's go ahead and add another class for the recipe steps, right? I would call the class as recipe step block.cs, right? So I'll create the class here. Yeah, so that's created. So again, the same steps here. The first thing that we'll have to do is inherit. So inherit from site block data, right? And then let's probably copy from here, right? So it would be culture specific. I need a title for the step, right? So instead of ingredient name, I would change it to title. Let me copy all the using statements from here, right? I have a title, and then I need instructions, detailed instructions. So again, that can be culture specific, because if you want the instructions in your language, if you're building a multilingual site, then that would be useful. So I'm going to copy paste this, change this title to instructions, right? And so instead of a string, I would make it as a HTML string, right? Yeah, and the order is also changed to 20. So we have two fields now, title, so we should capture the recipe step, and then the detailed instructions for that particular step. So to make this interesting, we can have one more field here. We can have the image for that particular step recipe. So that would be useful. So we'll have a step image. We'll change the order to 30, and instead of XHTML string, we will make it as content reference, right, so that you can refer to another image. And I would name this as step image, right. And one more thing I need to do here is actually a couple of things. So one is drop a UI hint so that it the CMS understands it's an image. So I drop a UI hint here, and I call it UI hint dot image, right. Let's try that again. I have I would need some libraries from here, some core libraries. So let's just import those libraries from there and remove the duplicates. And then let's say I want UI hint. Yeah, I get that now. So that's in the web namespace, right? AP server web namespace. So UI hint dot image, right? Yeah, that's true. And close this, and I would need if you remember, we had created a media type called as recipe image. So let's allow only those image types here. So I would add allowed types here, and I would say type of recipe image, which is in my media namespace. Yeah, so I think we are good now. So this recipe step block has 3 different fields: title, instructions, and a step image. And we don't need culture specific here because it's an image. See, for the other 2 fields we would need that. Yeah, so with that, that's complete. Let's move on to the next one. Next one, like I said, we would create a filter panel block which can be used in the search page. So let's create a new class here, and I would name that as filter panel block. Yeah, again same steps here. Probably let's copy all the namespaces which we may require. So I'm just copying all the namespaces here, right. And like always, the first thing is to inherit. So I'm inheriting from site block data, right. So couple of fields I will add here. One is my search target, right. So I would call it public virtual page reference. There's a typo here. Let's quickly correct that. Yeah, it's a page reference, and the name of the attribute would be search target, right. And there would be get set like always. And let me quickly annotate this. So I would call this display, right. And under display I would have the name of the field, which is search target, also have the order. Right, now let me quickly copy this and create another field, change the order to 20, change the field to default cuisine, change the label here also to default cuisine, right, and this would be my taxonomy that I created, right? So it would be category list type. Yeah, we can extend this filter panel block later based on the requirements that we have for search. We can fine tune this, but for now I think we'll go with these two fields. So we have created the three different blocks. One is the ingredient item blocks, and recipe step block, which will be used in the recipe page, and a filter panel block which will be used in the search page. Yeah. And finally, let's create all the core pages that are required for the website. So for page types, we have already created a start page type, which was for the home page in one of our previous episodes. So I think we are good with that. We'll start creating other core page types. So the first one would be a standard page. This can be used for any content pages like about us or contact us on the website. So let's go to pages, click add and add a new class, right? So since it is a standard page, I am going to call this class as standard page as well, right? Yeah, so I'll call this a standard page and create this. Yeah, so that's created. So now I'm just going to just copy all the using statements. Like as always, we'll have to inherit from the base type. So in this case, our base type is site page data, right? So that's our base type, so that is inherited here. So now let's annotate this class first. So it's a content type, so let's use content type here. Yeah, that's content type, and then we'll set all the attributes. First is display name, right? So display name is set as standard page, right? And the second attribute will be GUID, right? That will be set as empty. We'll update this later. And then description, yeah, that's description there, and I'll name this as standard page as well, right? So with that, the class decorator is completed. So let's add a couple of fields into this class. So the first one would be public virtual public virtual, and it will be a hex HTML string, and I will call this as main body, right? Main body, it will have a getter and a setter as usual. That's done, and this has to be culture specific, so let's add that. And the display annotation, so display, and then set all the properties. So name of this would be main body, right, and I'll put this into a group called as group name is, let's say, content, and then the order of the field would be, let's say, 10, right? So that is one of my property. The second property be, I will just copy this. So the second property I would call it as, instead of main body, I will call it as main content area, right? Copy the same thing here to the field name as well, and instead of this being an HTML string, it will be a content area, right? And and then I'll change the order as well to 20. So with this, the standard page is completed. We can extend and add other attributes as and when required. So I think for now we are good with this. The second class that we are going to create is for the recipe page itself. So that's the heart of our website. So let's call this recipe page.cs. We'll just wait for that to create. So we have the recipe page here. As always, I think first thing is we'll get all the using statements. Just copy all the using statements. I think we need one more. Right, so we have all the using statements now, and then let's extend from the base type, which is my site page data. Once this is done, let's add the content annotation. So I'll call this as recipe page. Right. Then next, for the fields, probably let's copy it from here. So so the first field would be sorry, so the first field would be for the description. So I'll change this field to description of the recipe. Right, I'll change this also to description, and the order can be 10, and the group name is content. I think that's perfect. And after this, I'm going to add other fields. So let's copy this again, and let's say I want servings. That's another field. So that's again going into content. I'll change the order to 20, and instead of HTML string, I'm going to make this as int. Right, so now copy this, this is again serving, correct typos. So now again copy this and create another field, and I'm going to name this as prep time minutes. Right, and rename this again, change the order to 30. Right, and I'm going to copy this again. Let's say we'll make this as cook time. in minutes. Change the field name also the same thing, and change the order to 40, and so we need to have the selection factory to be associated here. So let's add a field. Let's add a field here, and we'll call it difficulty, and it would be a string, right? And let's have the display annotation as well, and we'll call this as difficulty, and order would be changed to 50. There's one more thing, we'll have to associate that selection factory that we created previously. So let's do that. Let's say select one, right? Yeah, select one, and we'll bind it to a type. We'll say selection factory type equal to type of, and the difficulty selection factory that we previously created. So by this this field will be bound to this selection factory that we previously created, right? Now we need a few content areas, so I'm just going to quickly copy this from here, and I'll change this. So one is ingredients content area. So I'll, instead of content, I'll make this into a different group called as recipe, and change the name of the field also as ingredients. So this is one, and change the order to, let's say, 200. Yeah, and the second field under the group recipe would be recipe steps. This is the other block that we created. So, and I'm going to name this as recipe steps here, and both of these would be content areas, and the order I will change it to 10, right? And then a couple of things that I need. Again, I'm going to copy something from, let's say, recipe block here, right? I need the image and the video field, so I'm just going to quickly copy from there. Yeah, so instead of step image, I'll say recipe image, right? And allow type of recipe image. Again, this can go into a different group, so I would call that group as media, right? And the order also I will change it to, let's say, 300, and change the name of the field also to recipe image. This is again a content reference item, but linked to the recipe image that we previously created. And same thing, I will copy this and create another field for recipe video, which is under the same media tab. The ordering would be changed to 310, and the UI hint, I can say, do we have a UI hint is video, and instead of recipe image, I'll call it recipe video here, and the same thing, I would change the reference here, right? So with this I have all the fields that I require for my core page, which is my recipe page. So I have description, I have servings, I have prep time and cook time, and I have the difficulty. So these all these are grouped into content tab, and difficulty is bound to the selection factory that we created, and in the recipe tab we have two things. So these are again related to the blocks that we created earlier, the ingredient block and the recipe step block. And in the third tab we have media, and under media we have recipe image and recipe videos. The taxonomy that we had already created will automatically appear for all the pages that we create. Yeah, so with this the recipe page is also completed, and the next thing that we will create now is the recipe listing page. So let's do that. So under pages, let's create another class, which is my recipe listing page. Yeah, so that's created. Again, the same steps. I would copy all the using statements from here, right, and we'll also try to copy the content type annotation from here, right, and I will change this to recipe listing page, right, and here also I will change it to recipe listing page, and then it has to inherit from site data, so I will do that here. And now let's look at the fields that it requires, right? So for now we will just have one field that we created, which is the filter panel, right? So again it would be a content area, so I'll try to copy a content area field from here. So let's say I'll copy this and paste it here, and I'm going to change this. I will name this as filter panel, and it would be under a group named content, right, and the order would be, let's say, 10, and it would be a content area, and I will name this field as well as content panel. Yeah, so with that I think we have created all the core types that are required. We might have to create one more page type for the searching, so that probably we'll create it later, but the core types for creating, let's say, standard pages, for creating the home page, for creating the recipe page and the recipe listing page are all done now. So let's quickly build the solution to see if there are any issues with the models. So I've started the build. It would take a couple of minutes. Yeah, so the build is completed. There are no errors, as you can see. Yeah, with that the page type models are completed. Now that all the models are created, let's fire up the website and see if all the models are created successfully, and let's validate all the fields and the types. So I've launched the website. Let's quickly go to settings and find out if all the content types were created successfully. So I'm clicking on settings, so it's loading up the content types. So let's see. So we have ingredient item, which is a block. We should be seeing one more block, but looks like that's missing. So we are missing recipe step block, right? We can see the media items here. So we have recipe image and recipe video. So those are the two media items that we created. And the core pages were start page, which we already had. We had standard page, and we have recipe page and recipe listing page. See, all the core pages are available, all the media types are also available, and in the blocks there is one block which is missing. So let's quickly go back to our code and see what's missing. So yeah, as you can see, the content type annotation is missing, so let's quickly add that. So I'll go to ingredient block, and let me copy this content type annotation, And, so let me name this as recipe step. Right, I'm gonna save this, clean the solution once, and I'm gonna rebuild it. Yeah, so the build is completed. So let's fire up the website again. Yeah, this is going to take a couple of minutes. Just waiting for the browser to be launched. I'm going to stop this and just... Okay, yeah, it's coming up now. Excellent. Yeah, so the browser is launching. So I'll quickly go to EP04/CMS. Yeah, just waiting for it to load. Yeah, you can see that now. I'm logging in with my admin credentials. So we should start seeing the second block as well. Yeah, I think we were missing that for the filter panel block as well. Yeah, correct. So let's add that as well. So missed the content type for both the blocks. Yeah, so it's loaded. I'm going to settings now. Yeah, let's go to content types. Should be loaded in a minute now. Yeah, so I can see the recipe step block now. So I'll have to do the same thing for filter panel as well. So let me quickly stop this. I have added the content type annotation for filter panel block as well. I'll quickly compile this. It might take another couple of minutes for it to completely build and load the website. Yeah, please be patient. Right, so the rebuild is completed. I'm just going to quickly launch the website. Yeah, this might take a minute or so. We should see the browser launching in quick time now. Yeah, so the initialization started. It should complete in any minute now. Yeah, it's progressing. Yeah, initialization is completed. It should launch anytime now. Yeah, so the browser is coming up. Yes. I'm going to the EP04 CMS endpoint. Yeah, I am logging in with my admin credentials. Yeah, it's loading. So I'll quickly go to settings. Yeah, it should be loading the content types any minute now. Yeah, Perfect. So I see all the three blocks now. So let's order this by content type. So I see all the three blocks. Ingredient block is there, recipe step is there, filter panel is there. So those were the three blocks that we created. So if you go back to our solution explorer, so you can see that we have filter panel, ingredients and recipe. So all the three are created here. And then we have created two media types, which is recipe image and recipe video. Again, let's cross verify here. We go to recipe image and recipe video under media. So that is created. And we have the pages: start page, listing page, recipe page and standard page, 4 different pages. So the same thing is here as well. So we have confirmed that all the content types are created. We quickly verify the fields as well. So let's go to ingredients. So we have those 3 fields that we added: ingredient name, quantity and unit. So let's go back, verify the recipe step. So we have title, instructions and step image, which is perfect. Let's go back, let's go to the filter panel. Yeah, filter panel here, you search target and default cuisine, which is again perfect. So let's go back again to content types. Yeah, so now let's look at the media types. So recipe image is all text, which is perfect. And we'll go to recipe video. It should have 3 fields: video title, video description and thumbnail. Yes, it has. And let's also verify the pages now. So we have a standard page with 2 fields, right? Main body and main content area, and the fields inherited from my base type. So that's also there. Let's take a look at the recipe page. It has all these fields. Under content, it has description, servings, prep time and cook time and difficulty, and it has meta title, meta description from my base type. And in the recipe group, it has ingredients and the recipe steps. This is where we will be including our blocks that we created. And then in media, we have recipe image and recipe video, which is perfect. It has all the things that we intended for. And the last one that we have to verify is the recipe listing page. So under that, we have filter panel, which we created. Yeah, so it has all the content types and all the fields that we created here. Yeah, with that, the model creation is complete. Thank you. We'll catch up soon in the next episode.